has been started.
Recording has been started, and I'll ask Danette to take roll.
Tommy Jewell,
Present.
Matthew Ray,
Present.
William Walker.
I can't recall if Mr. Walker announced at the last meeting that he would not be here, but that's kind of my recollection. You
I
all.
think I recall that.
Okay.
I do too. Mr. Stewart,
Present, ma'am.
Diane Layden,
Present.
Debbie Strong. Here. Richard Clark, said he would try and make it, via,
Yeah, and I'm told Mr.
He
Clark
is
is our newest board member, and there's
if he could.
provision in the agenda to announce, and I suppose introduce him.
We can always move that to when
Yeah,
he comes to.
Sure.
Michael Isler,
Yes, I'm here.
and then Elena Giacchi.
Okay, the chair will note that we have a quorum during this meeting. While this meeting is chiefly for the purpose of approval of the annual report to be submitted to the county and to the county commission and the sheriff, we do consistently have an agenda that includes public comment and sheriff's comment. But even prior to that, we have a consent agenda. Item A under the consent agenda is approval of the minutes for the November 9 meeting. I know that Danette sent those out. I'm assuming you all had an opportunity to peruse them.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any amendment, addition, or deletion? I think there was something that I noticed, and that I didn't. It was something I said, and I'm always saying stuff, so it wasn't important. So anyway, anybody?
I
Yes,
just
sir.
had a point on the minutes, and I know we'll get to this a little bit further on when we
Just a minute.
talk about the report, but I think I had mentioned at the last meeting about perhaps attaching Ms. Giacchi's notes from the listening session to the minutes,
Yep, there will be a.
so that there's an official record of that in the minutes.
Yes.
Since we talked about it, whether or not it gets incorporated in the annual report, we'll talk about later, but I thought at least to move to have that in the minutes so that it's at least documented in the official record, in that capacity, so.
Yeah, I think that's what was the last.
Duly noted, Mr. Ray. Thank you. And so do the minutes reflect that?
What happens is I have to send them, when I send the minutes, I send the attachment with them
Okay.
so that they upload it together.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else with respect to the minutes? Those in favor of the approval of the minutes as drafted with any necessary, let me just say with any necessary typographical or verbiage changes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are then approved. Item B is announcement of the new board member, and as Danetta suggested, why don't we table that, hoping that Mr. Clark might appear and move on.
I just wanted to point out one thing, because I don't know if everyone saw it, but last night, actually, I sent out a revised draft, which the only change from the prior draft was that it adds Richard Clark's bio. So that's in section 7 for anyone who wants to take a look.
Okay, duly noted. And we'll then move to public comment. I don't see that there's anybody in the Zoom. There do not appear members of the public here in person. Does anybody have any information about someone who wanted to appear and perhaps as our board member, Mr. Wismer, is having difficulty getting in or otherwise?
No, sir. Not aware of any.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll conclude that there are no public comments. Next, we have Sheriff's Office comment. The sheriff is not here, understandably. There's a promotional ceremony at 1 o'clock today. Many of us plan to attend that. Indeed, this meeting was set for 11 so that we could accommodate that. So is there anything from the board members about Sheriff's Office comment?
Nope.
Hearing none, We'll then move to old business, number 6, item, single item, approval of the 2024 annual report. Our vice chair shepherds that effort in the many years that she's been here.
Many years.
Does 4 qualify as many? Okay.
Several.
Several years that she's been here. And so for purposes of that agenda item, I'll turn the meeting over to our vice chair.
Okay, and I turn it over to whoever would like to make a comment about draft 7.
I have a comment, thank you. I think this board should thank Linda Lopez for her memo. I don't feel like I'm being pressured at all. I don't respond the same way. I do think that,
Well, let me do, Vice Chair, let me do this. You know, we model for the public how to disagree without being disagreeable. So the elephant in the room, Elena, I know I received something.
Thanks for calling me the elephant, okay?
he doesn't mean that.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Poor
You're
analogy.
not an
But you know, I think I got something from you prior to the working session on the 6th. And then I see this morning that I got something and I've been handed a letter from Senator Lopez. So please address that and you know, let's have a healthy discussion about it.
Thank you.
So I think there's like a number of things operating here at the same time. The good news is at the listening session, there was a number of comments. I had pages and pages and pages of comments from the audience that was there. And like I said, my last report was that I had kind of talked about all the different comments and laid them out and had, you know, a number of those comments attached. And then when Matt Ray did the kind of summary, right, it was different from the kind of general idea of how I had laid it out with all of many of the comments attached. And then Jim White said that it was too
Jim White.
lengthy. What?
Who said?
You mean Jim
Jim.
Stewart?
Yeah,
Stewart?
had said there was.
You
too
called
much-
him White. I'm sure that was just a phrase.
No, I
It's
said,
Stuart,
oh, sorry.
it's all right.
Sorry, kid.
It's all right.
I just dealt with.
And during this
Darren
interruption,
White.
let me just say, Mr. Clark is on,
Oh, cool.
Mr. Clark, welcome. We're in the midst of a discussion that regards the annual report. And so there is room on the agenda in which we will want you to make whatever comments you might have. But I want you to feel welcome and be able to participate as a full member of the Sheriff's Office Advisory Review Board.
Did you want
Yeah,
to?
thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm sorry I'm late. I got stuck in a line at UPS, so sorry about that.
Well, if you'll accommodate the interruption, sure.
Yeah.
And again, Mr. Clark, the announcement of your inclusion on the board was a part of our agenda. And you know, we'd like to just pause and give you an opportunity, if there's anything else that you want to say, to make comments.
No, again, I'm sorry for being late. And thank you for allowing me to be part of the board. I'm excited to be part of it. Worked for Bernalillo County for about 10 years, and so as the emergency manager, and then up at the State Office of Homeland Security and emergency management as an intelligence guy, and then retired 25 years out of the military, and glad to be part of the board. Was a law enforcement officer before I joined the military down in Deming, New Mexico. If anybody knows where that is, a small little town down south on the border. And so did a lot of stuff down there as well. And so glad to be part of it, and looking forward to representing it. And that's one thing I guess I got to ask is, since I got nominated as, or voted in as at large, and then I just got an email today that says, do I want to be District 1? So I don't know which one is which. So yeah, it don't matter. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Mr. Clark, I'm working on that. Mr. Ray sent me an email too, so I sent it off to Julie to get some clarification on what, because so did another one of our members got the same exact one. I know that they were working out some glitches with their new system, so I think it's still glitching.
Okay, so either way, I'm just honored to be part of the board and glad to be working with you and I got the bylaws and everything, so I'm reading through those to see exactly what my duties are and what I'm supposed to do and everything. And so I appreciate you guys bearing with me here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark, and Mr. Wismer, you have thumbs up. Was that with or without comment? We can't, you're muted. Mr. Wismer, you're muted. There you go.
There you go.
It's just a thumbs up to welcome our new member and thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you. I think
Thank you,
we
sir.
all share that, Mr. Clark. You know, we've had members transition in and of course, some of us are leaving. But I think we did have something of a orientation
Yes.
subcommittee. Are there any present who,
You want to-
are you on
I
that?
thought Jim was.
Well, Joseph.
Yeah,
Joseph left
and you and Debbie died.
No, it's just Jim.
and Debbie left.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But I'd
what
like to
I'd like to
volunteer to
do,
be on that committee at this point.
so some folks are gonna contact you, Mr. Clark, to help in your reading and understanding of how this board functions. And so you can expect to be contacted by our vice chair, Debbie Strong, and then perhaps by Jim Stewart. And again, you know, just feel welcome and at home. We try to operate within Robert's Rules of Order. We're not always so precise, but you know, we try to have healthy discussion. And so we are in the midst of healthy discussion now. Whether you're a member at large or in a district, feel free, you know, to make comment. That doesn't make any difference, except that somebody got on me for saying the elephant in the room. So I don't want to make too much of you being at large, because I can't see your full silhouette. So, okay.
See the butterfly.
That was a good one.
Oh, okay,
That's
good. So let me turn it back over to Ms. Giachi, who was guiding us through
So-
what has occurred.
So after that particular, comment that it was too long, I looked through the things and there was nothing really that said that we couldn't be lengthy to address issues in the report. There just wasn't anything in there that talked about that.
And
so-
when you say anything in what, in the enabling legislation or what?
In like the general report or anything that I've seen in the past, that there's nothing that mentions. It only can be like a half a page or a full page or, I think there was times where we did more, information as some of the reports went through. But regardless, I sent Jim a note saying, I think that part of the problem with underserved communities is that we often have our words changed, silenced, or erased. And I think it's important to be able to look at the full report or a majority of the comments that came from, because it was called a listening session. We were asking them to give us a report, to give us information. And so I felt it was critical to continue in that vein. And so shortly after that, then I did, again, trying to compromise, put that report together with like your report, to try to meld the comments
And when you
with,
say your report, you're talking
Matt
about what
had,
Matt.
yeah,
submitted?
Matt had produced a report that Jim felt, and feel free to disagree, felt that was a good report.
Let me just ask this. I know after we all thank you for what you did in the organization of that. After that, and I don't know if it was my comment, but I've sat through a number of these reports before the county commission. And it may have been my commentary that, man, we don't need a long report followed, a long report from a listening session followed by a short report of our charge to give an annual report. I don't know if I said that or where it came from, but we do want to have a short annual report.
Right, I mean, I think because having been with our chair to present, at least, I think, three of
times.
those annual reports,
And Atlanta's been.
our sense
Yeah.
was
So far,
that,
this is the third.
our sense was that the commissioners paid more attention to the report the shorter it got. And
Okay,
That's
may
fair.
I speak? Thank you.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, we've got a revision here. At the last meeting, we talked about how it's Elena's privilege to submit her report to the county commission. And I suggest that she does that, and that they will see everything you said. Also,
But
there's comments about the juvenile code. That's most relevant. The comments about the juvenile
Mhm.
code are coming up in the legislature.
Yes.
The DA, the sheriff, the APD police chief, there's talk about major revisions. It matters what juveniles have to say about this, as well as the underserved who often have their words erased. So I suggest to Elena, we send this directly. If it's okay, I would suggest we put this version with the minutes, because it's now been revised. That we put this version, replace the, well, if you don't want to, that's your privilege, but those
No,
are my thoughts. Thank you.
I didn't say I didn't want to, but those minutes would have to go with the that would have to go with the approval of.
With the next minutes.
Yeah.
Then
It
let's put
wouldn't-
it with the next minutes, and let's
let-
put
let-
Linda
let-
Lopez's letter should go in the minutes as
Sure.
well. And
Okay.
I still think some judge too, I think we should thank her. She helped make all these arrangements. She did it before. They actually had a meeting set up. Am I correct, Elena? And they had to cancel all their plans. This board has, I'm sorry, but this board has moved very slowly on this idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lynn.
You're welcome.
Let me back up, and I see your hand, Jen, and just say, my expectation after you presented was that you all would meet as kind of a subcommittee, the three members who had participated in unified fashion. You'd come back to the group and say, boom, this is what we're reporting out from this listening session. I don't know that we could even keep minutes. It was not an official meeting of the SOAR. So, and I know that minutes just may be Senator Lopez's term. I'm not
It's
sure.
okay. It's
where-
a record. We need to keep a record. That's my
Right.
view.
And so my sense is that there was internal disagreement about that record. And so I don't know if you all ever had an internal like subcommittee meeting, but then something was presented and I believe by Matt at the next one. And there again, in your absence, I said, okay, well, Mr. Stewart, would you go back and see if you all can reconcile at the level? And so I don't know if that occurred. Jim, were you able to contact Elena at
We
all?
did not have a subsequent
Okay,
meeting
okay.
to discuss it.
There's
There's emails flying around, but not a meeting.
So that
communication.
that remains unsettled. What you all as a subcommittee would report out. I think our vice chair included what she got within the time parameters that she set out for us. I think as Dr. Layden indicates, there's probably room to just include whatever in the annual report, and we'll vote on that in a little while.
I would like that. That would be best, but no,
But, you know,
in my opinion.
I said before we started the meeting that we model for the community, or maybe during the meeting, that we model for the community how to disagree without being disagreeable. So let's not, nobody's in this, Elena, to hurt your feelings. And we appreciate the work of our vice chair. And I've altered that timetable twice now, you know, I said, oh, okay, well, you can't, well, we'll have a special meeting then on the sixth. Vice Chair, can we get this stuff in by this date? So, you know, in the spirit of unity, let's get a report out. You know, it's nice if we don't have to have an appendix, that's longer than the report itself. But if we have to do that, that's fine. It's paper that the county will gladly pay for, I assume.
I would like to make,
Could,
go ahead, ma'am.
No, go ahead.
I would like to make just comment on the record. I think I mentioned this last time when we were discussing the draft, but so my attempt was to summarize my recollection of what transpired in the listening session without getting into the level of depth of detail which Ms. Giacchi provided. That was my intent. So what I wrote up and sent to Ms. Giacchi and to Jim was mostly in substance what was incorporated into the report, some minor changes, but I didn't get any feedback on that one way or the other. And so I forwarded that summary to the vice chair for consideration of inclusion. I want to make sure that we're clear on the record, because in emails and even in the letter that's been referenced here this morning, indicates that what I wrote up and largely in the report is a mischaracterization of what transpired. So I want to make sure we're clear about the language that we're using on the record. And Ms. Giacchi, if there's certain points in this paragraph that is a mischaracterization, that is something that is said here that didn't transpire, then please can you point out the specifics of that? Because I think it's one thing to say what is provided in the report is not accurate, i.e. is a misrepresentation. That's a very serious allegation, if I may. That's different from saying there was more that transpired at the listening session that we'd also want to incorporate. That I understand. And that I acknowledge. So you have a level of detail that you would like in the report that's not included in the report. That is much different than saying what is in the report is a misrepresentation of what transpired. So I just want to go on the record to make sure I'm clear what it is that you're saying about what is in the report, mostly because it's what I put it there. And it was not my intent to mischaracterize anything that transpired in the listening session. It was my recollection of a high-level summary, albeit admittedly didn't involve the level of detail of comments that you provided. So I just want to make sure that's clear on the record, Mr. Chair.
And also, you know, just as a matter of working as a board, I'm not sure why Senator Lopez would have this report if everything internal should stay internal, we said, until we give approval. So I appreciate Senator Lopez giving us time that she had there in the space, but she shouldn't be in our business internally.
So,
On her official letter.
well, but that was Linda's area, okay? And so
When you say, are you talking about physically?
Huh?
When you say that was Linda's area, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, physically, those are the people that she represents in that community.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons that we had it there in the first place. But if we go back to what your question was, and so when we look at kind of the pieces, it said a few attendees were complimentary of BCSO presence in the school, but expressed a desire to Sheriff Allen for individualized engagement. But actually, we had the majority of people saying that the large auditorium sheriff's pieces were not good. They felt that they weren't effective, and they thought that they should not have those, but have the individualized ones going to the individual classroom. So it wasn't that a few attendees said that they were complimentary. In fact, it was the opposite of that. It was, we had one person say that it was okay, but everybody else said that it was not good, that it wasn't effective, and they felt that there was a lot of pushback from the youth in these large auditoriums. So that was one of the first ones.
Excuse me 1 second,
Mhm.
but it seems to me, and again, I wasn't there, so I'm just reading what's in here already, where it says specifically, many of the attendees who were students, teachers, and Albuquerque Public School Board members
Right.
suggested BCSO's participation in large assemblies at schools was not as productive as smaller settings where students can participate in the discussion. So isn't that what you're
No, I was
saying?
it's not,
And Mr. Wismer has a hand up.
you wanna,
Yeah, let me defer. Mr. Wismer?
Yes, I would, can everyone hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
yes.
I would like to make a suggestion as to a path forward on this issue. Reports like our minutes are summaries of what went on. And the summary that was provided seems to be adequate. So I would like to suggest that since we are probably most likely going to have more listening sessions, perhaps what we should do is take Alina's latest comments, the latest rendition, and ask that Esteban or a member of the Bernalillo County staff create another tab on the SOAR board website to say something along the lines of detailed minutes or detailed feedback from the listening session can be found here. And when the user clicks on that, we would start off by saying, the board would like to thank Ms. Elena Giacchi for all her efforts at putting this listening session together. These are her specific notes from that meeting, and keep the high level summary as it is in the report. And in the future, for every listening session that we have, we would do the same thing, a summary in the report for the Bernalillo County Commission, as we're required to do, and then detailed notes of exactly what happened. And the parallel that I would draw is that a person can look at the minutes from our meetings and see a summary of what happened. They can also go back to the video, the recording, and see the exact words and verbs that were transmitted during the meeting. So I would just like to say, let's use that model in this case, because we're probably most likely going to have future listening sessions, and we can have detailed notes in that location that we can point to. We can even point to it in the report and say detailed notes from Ms. Giacchi, who organized this session, are available on the website at this link. But to argue, I think we're just going to be in a vicious do loop if we argue whether each of those points should be put in. So that's my suggestion, and I'm willing to put it in the terms of a motion after discussion, or if you think it's appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Wismer. Our colleague always has helpful suggestions. Is there the need to finish the dialogue? Go ahead.
So I believe, and I would be happy to go through point by point, which components of the summary I did not feel were accurate. Once I did that, I felt that now it's based on my notes and my perception. So that's when I asked Linda, I said, here is a summary. Do you think it's accurate from what you remember and the notes that you were taking? And that's how that part came in, because I did not want to be critical if what my notes were different than maybe you heard or even Senator Lopez heard. So that's how that part occurred, which I felt was the more responsible thing. I do think, going back to my original statement, and that was that all too often in underserved communities, that that we see that occur with, shortening things, not including things, not being part of that. So that's why that occurred. Markella from the mayor's office as well, who attended that session, who has been attending these meetings. I said, here's what I have, here's the summary. What do you believe? Because
What are you
she,
objecting for hearsay?
yeah,
It's okay.
Go
Why
ahead,
don't we just?
Go
Never
ahead,
mind.
Elaine,
No,
please.
I withdraw
I'm
that.
sorry.
Let's talk about it.
so it was during that process too, that her recollection was closer to what Senator Lopez, what the notes I took, and that it didn't feel that that was a fair representation, especially when you were talking about DA Bregman, when he came up once, but most of the time it was saying that the sheriff, because the way we crafted the listening session was specifically around the sheriff's office. So I think that's why, the comments were as such. So that's why, because that's totally on me, because I was like, maybe my recollection and my notes somehow are not as accurate as I thought they were. And that's why I asked Linda. And then I talked to Markella as well, saying, do you believe these are, because they were, Markella and her
How come you
relatives
didn't
were.
talk to them, Elena?
Well, because we had already gotten a thing from them saying, here's what their recollection was from,
Yeah, but
from
my
that.
expectation was that you
But I
want to
did
go back
send,
and
I
correct
did
it.
send an email that said,
Okay,
I do not believe this is an accurate piece. And then I said, and here's my list. And I would like to submit all of the points that were here. And then I was asked to reduce it. And once we started reducing it, and even my very last reduction with headings, trying to keep it to one page, still was not sufficient. So.
okay. Jim?
Elena, Judge,
Yes.
the purpose of these listening sessions per the ordinance is to talk about the sheriff's office. There was a whole lot that went on here that had nothing to do with the sheriff's.
That
office.
happens in public meetings.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Jim.
Professor, I've been around a day or two and I've been in a meeting or two. So that's one of my concerns is that we throw all this other stuff in there.
It's okay.
Really not relevant to our mission as the SOAR. Secondly, the putting this nitnoid detail in there in our report to the Board of Commissioners and the Sheriff's Office is just going to negate the effectiveness of this report. I've been on the receiving end of these types of reports. And when you say things like, I'm gonna paraphrase here, but like the sheriff's office needs sensitivity training. Okay, you give that to them. And what do they do with it? Sheriff, you need sensitivity training. Sheriff, if I were Sheriff Allen, I'd say BS, I do it all the time. I encourage that. If anybody comes to me and says, I got a problem, I fix it. So it just diminishes the impact of the report that we're presenting to them. Last year, I think it was you and I, as one of the commissioners, wanted to revisit it after we submitted it. So the vice chair and I went before commissioners and we went into greater detail in some of the areas in which they were concerned. So we have that option all the time. Putting a district attorney in here negates it.
I don't think
District-
that.
District attorney is an elected official. District attorney does what the heck the district attorney was. If people don't like it, they vote him out. It's not our place to criticize the district attorney.
Or not.
And the only thing, the things that they said was DA Bregman, but that was only mentioned once. And that's why the other component around the original summary, when it pulled out DA Bregman specifically, and it was like, that was in a bunch of other ones. But I would disagree in the fact of This is a report from a community, from the Southwest community, where we had a number of people. And we said we were there to listen, and we said we wanted to hear the good, the bad, the criticisms, the comments, and the good things that they had done. And I think that that's kind of what the whole point of the listening session was.
Okay, in the interest of shortening this discussion, and there seems to be just a fundamental difference in points of view here, why don't we just attach Elena's version as an exhibit to section, whatever it is, 11, I think, of the report. Keep what's in here. They're not particularly inconsistent. And just in footnote 5 on page, well, it's on page 10 of the non-redlined version of draft 7, just say their comments on the listening session can be viewed at, this link at whatever that meeting was at the November 8th meeting. And also Ms. Giacchi's additional comments may be viewed at whatever it is, exhibit 2 to this report. And then
I
that's
second it.
it.
Well, that's not a motion.
Oh, is that a motion?
Okay,
Let me say this with respect to process. The committee chair's report always stands as a motion. So if there's a second, then it can be voted on. But let's, Jim, did you have some other comments?
No, sir.
does that
That would,
work for anyone?
Yes.
I mean, that's a good compromise. I'm sensing that incorporates Mr. Wismer's suggestion with respect to having that then on the
They're doing
website.
both.
Is
You can
that,
do both.
okay,
So I will
So-
send you the clean
so-
copy of just the.
I have
Okay, you should.
what you sent.
typically when you have an amendment, the amendment gets voted on and so is there,
And it's going to appear, oh, sorry.
well, you're actually chairing this,
No,
you're streaming this.
sorry,
So all those in favor of the suggestion of including Elena's comments, and I'm assuming this doesn't include Senator Lopez's
No.
letter,
Mm-mm.
okay? In the report, in the fashion that Madam Vice Chair suggested, in other words, it would be footnoted and would be an attachment to the report. And then including, I'm trying to restate this so that everybody's clear, including this on the website, tabbed appropriately so that people can go to it, is the motion. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Oh,
Okay. Mr. Clark, was that an aye by you too, sir?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Okay, so we
and
have
it was by you
unanimity.
too.
We have unanimity.
okay. Anything else?
Now the report, Madam Chair.
Any other comments on the report?
thank you so much.
And Mr. Clark, I don't know if you're aware, did the vice chair speak to the, you have a bio directly from him or?
Yeah, I actually sent you, Richard, the latest draft that has your bio in it. It's draft 7. I sent that out last night, but draft 6, I think, I'm not sure if you got. I don't know if I had your email at that point.
I got one, I got one from you that, said, it was a red line and everything else. I think I was on those emails. So I think I was privy to all the various copies.
Okay, so if you have the copy that has your bio in it, that's the latest one. And if you have any comments on this report, you're more than welcome. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Mr. Chair and Madam Chair, I appreciate the input on that. And like I said, being new to the process, I don't want to throw any bumps in the road right now. I mean, I'm just listening and gathering information and looking at things. And so I don't feel like, at least at this point in time, I'm qualified to know as far as any of the meetings and stuff that you guys have had. So I'm good with any of the comments you currently have in the report.
Well, thank you for that. Again, you are qualified by virtue of the fact that you have been placed on this board. So don't let that stop you. And if we haven't included enough superlatives in your bio, please chime in. We see the hat. We thank you for your service. We heard the dimming. And as a New Mexican, I'm glad that you were down there on the border for us. So we're appreciative to have you on this board, sir.
Thanks.
All
Like I
those
said,
in favor?
I appreciate, Mr. Chair, I appreciate your comments and stuff and reading everybody else's bios too. I feel like I'm very humbled to be on the committee with you guys. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. All those in favor of the final report as amended by our able vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Hearing no opposition, draft 7 as amended stands as the final report of the SOAR. With the thanks of the board and the chair, Madam Vice Chair, please distribute that to the people. And
Will do.
we'll
Ma'am,
make-
since, yeah, I'm sorry. Judge.
Go ahead.
Moving the glossary to the front, good deal. I like that.
That's my husband's suggestion.
Yeah. Bob gets extra credit, and if you could have made this section font even bolder, that'd been awesome. Bit of sarcasm.
All right. So we
Take
got,
that under consideration for next time.
Can we mention the holiday lunch, please?
we sure can, Dr. Layton. Item
you.
7 is announcement of the next board meeting. But of course, prior to any further board meetings, we do have the luncheon coming up next Thursday. Do you have, I know, Danette tried to solicit, attendance so that she has a good number. Anybody here, who has not reported guest or otherwise? You and your husband
I
coming?
have something pending. I'm trying to get out of it,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if
Oh, I know. Just call in the morning.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I know. And then they say, so we saw you. Unfortunately, it's down at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center. So it'd be like really hard to go. I'm sick. Oh, hey.
Okay, anybody need to report,
I think I've
anything else?
gotten, notice from everybody if they can or cannot go.
Did I, I know.
Are you coming?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
don't
got,
know if
you
Angela-
accepted it
But she
on the
may.
invite, yeah.
Okay.
They said they'd get back to me on Monday. So, and I
Okay.
just texted them again.
That'll be fine. That way I can give the final count to Dr. Layden on Monday.
Well, Dr. Layton, we appreciate it, as has been the
Always.
usual circumstance that you arranged this for us.
That's okay. I'll send a message out next week.
And I
Yes, to the
really
board.
appreciate the respectful dialogue. So thank you all for that. And if you don't feel like you've been heard, please let us know. You all won't have me to kick around much longer. and-
Point of order, point of order.
Yes, sir.
That's BS.
So when is the last day that you
I-
believe?
My
is your-
commitment is through the next election. I hope to, I said typically I turn the chair over to Mr. Wismer to conduct the election. I would like to be doing the election so that you all, on my leaving, know, who's gonna chair and what the expectations are for you. So that would be January, I think, according to.
According to, the ordinance in January, our agenda item will have the election of a new vice chair. in
What
here.
was the date, please?
We haven't discussed
Chair
it.
and vice chair?
Yes.
So both of you.
Can we get a date? today?
Well,
We can look at our calendars right now, Dr. Layden, and,
yeah, I don't know what you guys want to vote for a date on your next meeting.
What is it?
So you have January 10th, if you guys are following the guideline that you usually follow of having it on a Friday. Second Friday of the month, that would be January 10th.
Thank you.
is that a satisfactory date for everybody, or do you want to delay it a little more?
I'll get with that, Judge.
So if you guys are,
10th is good.
Mr. Chairman, I would not be able to make the 10th. I'm sorry.
Then
If if we could delay it a week, I would be there, but I absolutely can't
Any
join.
objection to January 17th?
That I can't,
You
Is that
can't make
better?
the 17th?
but, you know, we're celebrating our 51st.
Yeah, I remember
anniversary in
you all were celebrating
Yeah,
50 at
50 last year.
you know, and that's something, you know, short of a miracle.
Miracle.
I look at
know.
myself and I've got a little
My
time in
poor
the
husband has
institution, but certainly not 50 years.
Put up with me.
So,
How about
January
January 9th or 16th? On a
9th,
Thursday rather than on a Friday.
that would be fine.
That's acceptable to
Can
me.
we all make it?
Yeah, I can. On the 9th.
Jeanette, does that work for you?
The 9th or the,
So the 9th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're deciding.
what about a time?
any objection?
You
Typical
guys taking
time?
it to
1
typical
o'clock?
time?
1 o'clock on the 9th. May I?
Going
say-
once, going twice? 1 o'clock on the 9th it is.
William Walker isn't here.
Uh-huh.
Could we send a message to Nat and say that we're planning it for the 9th?
Yes,
He gets all of this.
yeah, I
Can
will
we
send,
notify people right away in case?
yes, I will call him. I talked to him earlier. He did call during the meeting and said he couldn't make it. But we were in the meeting, so I was like, we're in the meeting. So he did let us know.
The same time, we normally do it 1.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, same place. I will try and book this place. If it changes, you will get that on my invite that goes out letting you know. If we don't meet here, Matthew, just so you know, I always put it on the second floor, which is at the agave.
Dark chocolate.
Thank you for.
Because those are the rooms that everybody can kind of access after that. You need that is to get in. And I believe Mr. Clark already knows that, so.
Is there a day
Yeah.
that's better for you to be able to get this room or?
It
Or
doesn't,
it
it's
just
hard
depends.
because it's everybody's in the whole pool, the whole
Mhm.
county can ask for this, so, you know. Typically, I have
You get to
had people,
choose.
I have some people from this room, but I don't know how to say that politely.
And on the record?
Yeah, you know, because sometimes they'll be like, no, this meeting needs to be here
Mm.
because we're moving everything around. So I try to schedule it right away, but yeah, it's hard to say. It's sometimes this room is heavily in use and sometimes it's not, you know, well, no,
Such
and
as
roll
life.
with punches.
We appreciate it. Any other business to come before the solar?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention a few agenda items for the next meeting. And one is to discuss people's areas of interest and subcommittee assignments. And then, of course, the election of the new chair and vice chair. And also, I think we should have a discussion about how frequently we should meet. By law, we only need to meet quarterly. We can do any
Any?
longer version of that or, meet quarterly. So,
When you say longer,
I mean, we can meet more
we've been doing
frequently.
it
Every 2
monthly,
months.
but it's,
Right.
yeah, or.
Yeah.
Could,
Every monthly?
Bi-
Bi-monthly.
semi would be half.
Bi-monthly.
Mr. Stewart.
I have a very small circle of friends.
Mhm.
Y'all are all.
We can
included in that.
understand that.
And,
You enjoy,
oh, is
you
that a
enjoy
big
seeing us monthly, do you?
Okay,
monthly is good for me. Otherwise
Okay,
Bi-monthly.
well, we can
Keep
talk
that in
about
mind.
it.
Keep that in mind.
so I
Yeah.
have for the agenda items, of course, the election, because it has to be on the agenda item for January. Discussion of subcommittees, how those are gonna look, and then, meeting times,
And people's areas of interest or thoughts on
other subcommittees.
other things that we should do.
Perfect.
Okay,
Sounds good. Anything else?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
so moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
All right, so
All
who are we
right,
seeing
thank
at
you.
over at the,
Promotion.
Albuquerque
Yeah.
Museum? Everybody